Hello there, friends. Have you ever had something to say and then went silent? Have you ever stumbled through a conversation only to think later, that's what I should have said? Have you ever looked at someone and said, you're not hearing me? Well, you're not alone. Get ready to uplevel your communication skills. My name is Kathy Riley, and I'm your host here and communications expert with over 25 years in litigation and another 15 as an entrepreneur, which is funny because I'm only 29 years old. Our goal here is to share tools, systems, techniques guaranteed to shift the way you connect with others. From mastering the art of a tough conversation to cultivating a mindset that screams confidence, you're going to learn how to break those bad habits. And today I'm so excited. We have a special guest today. It's so much goodness, Miss Michelle Kaye. She is the founder and executive director, lead therapist at Operation Equine. Michelle possesses over 30 combined years of teaching and counseling experience and has had the honor of serving those who serve in the military service, veterans, emergency responders, healthcare workers for almost 10 years. In working with successful and heartfelt organizations such as Project Sanctuary, where she's been a staff counselor, facilitator, and serves on the military family life counselor. So this woman is doing it all. She's discovered that truly the whole family serves. And so she is dedicated to creating and offering Operation Equine programs to the entire family, as well as to any caregivers who assist them. Whoo, I'm having a mouthful day today. All right, horses became Michelle's own personal sanctuary at the age of 6. And I love that. So she's been an equine assistant, psychotherapy, and learning EAPL, the learning, how do you say that? Agala?
Egala. Yeah.
EGALA model certified mental health professional since 2010. So this woman, she knows a lot about horses. She's a licensed professional counselor and educator who's committed to an inclusive warrior spirit in her life as well as in her organization. The values of integrity, courage, honor, service before self, and loyalty run through her veins. And we are so excited to have you on here because the power of horses, the power of serving our community, the power of what you're doing is so amazing. So thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's nice to also talk with a fellow horse person who gets it.
Yeah. So we
Mhm.
were introduced through a mutual friend, and I feel like I've got a sister from a different mister as we've been, talking about horses and how powerful they are and what you can learn from them. There's so much. So let me ask you this, why horses?
That is generally the question that people want to know first and foremost. Besides the fact that sometimes hanging out with horses is a lot better than hanging out with people. Um, I
Yes.
mean, if I may be 100% honest. No, just horses, they're sentient beings. People forget that they're sentient beings and that they are the prey. They are not the predator. So people say, "Oh, horses are just like big dogs." No, they're not. They're like big deer. They are fight and flight, right? That's what they do. And
Yes.
so they want to know when some people say, "Well, I'm scared of horses," they're actually sussing you out to see if you're safe for them, right? Is they're a lot bigger than we are, true statement. However, to earn their trust, to learn how to communicate with them in our language as well as in their language, we can get to things sometimes a lot quicker and a lot more impact in the arena than we do in an office sometimes. I mean, I have all the traditional, psychotherapy skills as a therapist, and when we're in the round pen or in the arena or in the pasture, or heck, sometimes it even happens just in the stall when you're haltering a horse and somebody has a moment, right? That's where it can start. And again, because sometimes there are no words. When we talk to our military service members and our veterans and our first responders for what they've gone through and what they've seen and what they experience and what they feel, Kathy, sometimes there just are no words. And so sometimes when I'm able to say to someone, they're like, they look at me and they're like, what, I'm going to pet a horse and feel better? Well, yeah, you will, but there's more to it than that, right? It's not just, we joke about pet the pony therapy, right? Like this is not just pet the pony therapy. So, perfect example, one of the ways I got into this was through Vietnam veterans. I have a very special place in my heart for the Vietnam veterans. And so, the crustier, the better. And I love those men and women with all my heart and then some, because no matter what anyone believes, the way that, we treated them as a country when they came home wasn't okay. So as they heal, one of my favorite Vietnam veterans, one of my very first, he looked at me up and down. He goes, I'm not talking to you. I said, all right. And I handed him his favorite horse because he was volunteering at a barn that I worked. I said, take Petra for a walk. And I just looked at him and he just looked at me and we're sitting there looking at each other, daring the other one. And he goes, fine. Okay. I said, great. I'll see you in 20 minutes. So he kind of, gave me the hairy side eye and he walked off with the horse, right? And next thing you know, he's out in the field with Petra and their heads are together and he's petting her. And you can tell he's feeling some emotion and his arm goes over the back of her neck and she's leaned into him and he's leaned into her. About 20 minutes, he comes, hands me the horse. He goes, same time next week? I said, yes, sir. So it took us about 3 weeks of some similar things for him to even start talking to me to know, because sometimes it really isn't about, sometimes you do need to tell your story. Sometimes it is really taking that time to create that relationship, because a lot of men and women who come back, they don't feel that they're worthy, or they feel a lot of shame and guilt, or they feel a lot of anger. And when a horse chooses to go with them, chooses to walk next to them with or without a lead rope, they start building that confidence again. And then their shoulders start to go up again and their chest starts to fill again and their head starts to lift again. And they're not just slumped over like I'm a piece of crap. And you know what I'm saying? So it's a
Yes.
really long answer to why horses, because there's a bajillion and one reasons. And the relationship that is created, and when they start feeling that confidence again, that the horse is choosing to be with them, that the horse is choosing to trust them, especially when they're at liberty. And to see that look at liberty, meaning, there's no ropes, there's no halters, there's, it's a naked horse doing what they're being asked to do because they want to,
Yeah.
and because they believe in what they're being asked. And that communication is being co-created between the two of them. That's the kind of thing that when they can get that in their bodies, they can take that home to their spouse, to their husband, to their wife, to their children, to their best friends. And people start to notice a difference
It's oh,
out there
yes,
for,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Horses are absolutely powerful. And I'm a horse girl too.
Yeah.
Had a horse, Encore Beaujolais was his name. Bojo is what I called him. I lost him in April, but we were 23 years together. 23 years. I joke that outside of my husband, it's the longest, healthiest relationship I've had with a
Yeah.
male.
Yes. 100%. Yes. Yes. Yes.
He's awesome. But the funny story is, so it was about 5 years before him, 4 or 5, somewhere in there. Um, I was riding, a girlfriend of mine just says, hey, you want to take horseback riding lessons? And I'm like, "Pff." She's like, we're going to do English. Like, I know what that means. I'm like, whatever. Okay. Let's start riding. And so once a week we went, and it was like on Sundays. So it became my, like my faith time, my spirituality time to get together. And then I realized that I wasn't going to get any better until I actually owned one or like leased one. I didn't know leasing was a thing. So for those of
Yeah.
you listening that are thinking about horses, leasing's not a bad option. You don't have to go buy them. But so I bought Bojo. And the funny thing is, Bojo, so I have one of those practice marriages. So I lovingly call him idiot, right? My current husband's Prince Charming. He's idiot. So I remember coming home and saying, I found the horse. And idiot's like, well, you can't have a horse. I'm like, wait, we live on horse property. We moved out here. We did all of this stuff. Why can't I? And he does well, it would take away from your time at home. And I'm like, of all the things,
Oh,
yeah, right? Oh, see, that's the reaction I'm talking about. Of all the things that has gone wrong, and our marriage was not good, right? I was in therapy at that time, and that was that horse conversation. is what woke me up.
Yeah.
So to end the story, I sold the ring, bought the horse, and Bojo was my therapy, truly
Yeah.
my therapy for many, many years. So
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about how horses are therapy.
Absolutely. Um, I'll give you a perfect example. So we worked with a group of veterans. We work with the Marcus Institute for Brain Health. They're down at CU Anschutz. They have a 3-week intensive outpatient program for veterans and first responders with PTSD and TBI. We are their equine program. So in those 3 weeks, they come to us for the first Saturday of their cohort. So these men and women have lived together for about 4 or 5 days, have done group therapy and art therapy and individual therapy, all these things. So they come to us. Some people love the horses. Some people are scared. Some people are like, had bad experiences when they were a kid. People grew up on ranches. You get everything, right? So this one guy comes in, no facial expression, none. And and he was just very tense. He wasn't sure what to expect. And his fellow cohort people were, psyched to be there, and they were warm and bubbly, and he was kind and he was civil. And he was just no facial expression, but he was engaged. So long story short, we do all of our things. We're about halfway through, and there's this exercise where we have people lead the horses around the arena first with a lead rope. And we have them get acquainted, like tell your horse a story, tell him something about you, tell him, your astrological sign, tell him something you've never told anyone before, sing to him. We had somebody sing a hymn. It was beautiful. Like,
Oh,
all the things. And so, and then we said, ask your horse stories as well, right? So they're getting connected, because the next part of the activity is to put the lead rope over their neck or to take the lead rope off and invite the horse to join up and follow with them without the lead rope. So this young man was really
yes.
struggling with the exercise because he is used to being large and in charge. Like what I say is, like this, he's got the knife hand out, right? Like what we say is what we do and blah, blah, blah. And this horse was like, yeah, would kind of follow him for a little bit, then would stop and look around, like look at the water trough, and this guy was trying really hard, and his fellow cohort members, they were having the horses follow them around, so now he's getting some performance anxiety. And I, didn't want him to struggle too much, struggle a little bit. Yes. Cause sometimes people figure it out on their own. Don't want to help too soon, but I could tell, his whole body language was just getting super tense, and the horse was getting less interested. So I walked over to him and I said, all right, tell me a goal that you have right now. And he's like, well, I want to get this horse to follow me. I was like, no, no, no. In your life, what is a goal in your life right now? He's like, my career. I'm figuring out what I'm doing, now that I'm out of the military, and I'm really focused on my career and what I want to do. I said, okay, I want you to put that in your entire body. Like, see your first paycheck. How many zeros are in it? Picture what you're wearing. What is the title of your job? Where do you work? Where's the building? How do you feel with your clients? Like, what are you doing? I said, you got it? He said, I got it. I said, just be in that. And I said, put it in your whole body and start walking. So he takes a breath and he exhales, audibly, like, I got this. And he starts walking around the arena. Next thing you know, the horse has no rope, perks his head up, eyes are open, ears are up, head's forward. He starts following behind him. And the guy keeps looking back. I was like, no, 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 no. Don't look back. Just keep going. Again, like, what are you wearing? What's the office building you're working in? Who are the clients in front of you? How do you feel with these clients? And his chest is puffing up, and he's walking, and he's looking like he knows his shit, excuse my language. And right.
Yeah.
And he's walking around. That horse is in his pocket, Kathy. He is like right on him. And he keeps looking back. I was like, nope, don't look back. Trust it. Just trust it, trust it, trust it. And he keeps going, and he keeps trusting it, and he keeps walking. And I see him catch the horse out of the corner of his eye, and he smiles for the first time all day.
Oh.
And this horse is following him, right? And then I said, practice stopping and starting. So if you stop, the horse will stop. So he stops, the horse stops right next to him. So take a deep breath, stay focused, keep going. And he starts again, and the horse follows him again, and he's doing circles and, infinities and all that stuff. Amazing. Come to find out. So, right. So now he's smiling, and now he's like, and I just go over to him because I knew he was a man of few words. And I said, you feel the difference? And he smiled, and his eyes got a little teary. He went, yep. I said, great. That was the point. He goes, got it. So come to find out in the debrief, because the clinical staff of the Marcus Institute comes with him, that he told him, he's like, I've tried all sorts of things. He said, nothing worked. That worked.
Oh.
There it is.
Yes.
There
Oh,
it is.
oh.
Right. So, I mean, I could give you all the, like, all the scientific reasons, and, heart
Yeah,
math,
yeah.
and, that our hearts are attuned, and that our breath and their breath and our heartbeat and their heartbeat. I could give you all the scientific reasons, and the stories is where all the power is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you mentioned that, because there is there is a lot of science behind
There is. Mhm.
why equine therapy is so powerful. And it's funny because when I, started working with horses and got my horse, I had no idea. I'm a nerd, right? I love the brain, the neuroscience, all of that.
Yeah.
That wasn't out there yet, but it worked.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing that I took advantage of, which I invite everyone who's listening right now, if you have an opportunity to get with a horse,
Hmm.
volunteer somewhere. I bet you Michelle's looking for some volunteers, right?
Always.
But just spend time with a horse. Here's the thing that it's like I'm an introvert, okay? Having conversations like this takes a lot of energy. I've got a bottle of wine waiting for me right now. I'm telling you. This is my third podcast today. So here's the thing.
I'll try to go
Oh,
easy on you.
yeah, you're a horsewoman. This is awesome. This is awesome. But I learned that when I went to see Bojo, that I didn't have to talk to anybody. Like I was not there to have a conversation, to be seen, to be heard, other than with him. It wasn't about who's who. It didn't matter. Everything. You just had to let go. Now, there are a lot of uh, people in the equine industry that are there to socialize. They're there to be seen. They're there for all of that. And that's, you know, bless them. I love you, right? I didn't know a lot of people's names. I knew the horses' names
That's right.
because I was there to be present with him.
Yeah.
And, it was an hour, even if it was just to groom, just to have that connection. And I could tell you when you were not present, like there were times that I was riding, and you're thinking about, I call it the itty bitty shitty committee, right? All the stuff that happens, you're there and you're not fully present. And I almost tossed, right? It's
Oh,
it
yeah.
he was like, I don't know what you're doing, mama, but this ain't right. You're not here. And they
Hmm.
call you on it. Can you talk a little bit about that, about how, it's just you have to be fully
Yeah.
present.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a beautiful thing about it because I'm a total brain geek too, right? It's one of the reasons I love working with the Marcus Institute because I am a fellow brain geek because neuroscience is real. People are like, that's woo woo. I'm like, no, it's actually neuroscience. So I know when people aren't breathing. I feel it. I feel it in my own body, right? And so the breath, right? The horses with the breath and the right. And so
Yes.
when they do that, honestly, when we're talking about grooming, we do this meditation at the end where we have them use their senses and really put their hands on the horses. And for some people, it's the deepest breath they've taken all day, right? Because I'm on them about it when I'm like, hey, just do me a favor. They're like, how do you know? Because I feel it and the horse feels it, right? And the horse will often get more tense. And they see, when I see that the horse is tense, I'll just sidle up to somebody sometimes and say, hey, exhale, see what happens. And they go, and the horse goes, it's like, oh, thank God we're breathing, right? Yeah, right. And so, and funny enough, that for people, relaxes our vagus nerve, right? And the vagus nerve is the longest nerve in our body, which goes from our limbic system all the way down through our face, through our neck, through our chest, and all the way into our guts. Right. So when we're in trauma or we're starting to get hypervigilant, that vagus nerve is starting to be aware and is starting to tighten and be a little bit on point. And so when you can go, right, funniest thing, it's the nerves in your lips, relaxes your face, makes you chuckle, and it makes you breathe, and it starts to relax your body and let you know you don't need to be on point. So that therapy thing and that not having to be on point and that presence, right? When they can literally in the moment exhale and take a real inhale and see how it affects the horse might start, doing the mouth thing, right? Where they're nah, nah, and they're licking and
Yes.
chewing simply because somebody took an actual deep breath, like not just, right? Not just with their chest, but throughout their whole body. And they see the horse relax and their head drop. And when we do this meditation at the end, and they're simply breathing and their hands are on the horses and everybody's relaxed and it's quiet because it's a guided meditation, they see the horse's head starting to droop and their eyes get really soft. And they see how this animal who is meant to be situationally aware, sometimes hypervigilant, they've got this horse practically asleep, oftentimes asleep,
Yeah.
simply by breathing and by being present. And they see when all of a sudden, like this one guy had a phone go off in his pocket when we were in the middle of the meditation, and the horse immediately head up because he felt the vibration. It wasn't on ring, but he felt it. And because we were so quiet, horses, head up, eyes up, ears up, right? And
Yeah.
everyone was, he and the horse were shaken out of the situation. And so for him to go, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, I meant to. And I was like, that's between you and your horse, man. So he puts it on silent, gets back into it. And the cool thing is that he saw that you can recapture it because the meditation was long enough that it took him took him and the horse out of it. And then we said, it's okay. Just reconnect, continue to breathe, wiggle your feet on the ground, drop your shoulders, relax your jaw, drop your tongue, get back into your breath, be with the horse. And they saw that it was a good lesson because the difference between situational awareness and hypervigilance, right, is that situationally aware is spot on. We all need to be situationally aware, right? Like how many people leave the bar and their heads in their phone? Like, no, no, no. Look at your car, have your keys in your hand, look up, look across the parking lot. Like, let's have some situational awareness, right? But it's when they're in hypervigilant mode and they stay there too long, right? There's a time to be
Yeah.
hypervigilant, right? Because it's trained into all of them. But then there's a time to learn how to bring it back down. So he learned, right? It went from being present to being shaken out of it, but he saw that he could come back down with the horse, with his breath, with simply getting back into the same state of mind and relaxing his nervous system again. He could recreate that within about 2 minutes. And that was cool
Yeah.
because then he feels it in his body. Because we can say all day long in an office, breathing is important and we're going to take some deep
Right.
breaths, right? And we can practice it. When you see a, 1,200, 1,800 pound animal, do it with you and relax because you relaxed. You're like, oh, so maybe this would work with my wife, or maybe this would work with my 16-year-old, right? Like my 16-year-old might be 120 pounds, but if I can do it with 1,800 pounds, I could do it with 120 pounds. And then they go, oh, and they get that light bulb moment like, I can do this with my people. Yes, that's the point. You don't just have the best 6 hours of your life on a Saturday and then forget about it. We really work with everybody to take these skills home with them and practice with their families and with their loved ones.
Yeah, it's so good because breath is so important. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
talk often about that, box breathing because you could do that anywhere, anytime. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and you can do it in a situation where you're in the conflict, right? Especially at work, right? So working with
Mm-hmm.
CEOs and leaders and like you're in this conflict, you can do the box breathing without everybody knowing you're doing it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can say something like, tell me more about that. And then
Right.
take a minute and do the box
Right.
breathing while they're, and you're like, collecting myself. Okay, I
Right.
got this. I
Right.
got this.
Yeah.
So you talked about some things here that I think it's really important when it comes to communication. The reality is this is why I loved my time with my horse and I love time with horses altogether because they truly pick up on nonverbal communication. It is the energy behind what you say. It is your breath. It is all of that, right? It is just how your attitude, right? That attitude that you come. Talk a little bit more about, because you also said, you work with these people and you're like, hey, take a breath, right? So you are constantly paying attention to the nonverbal communication because communication is only 7% words.
Mm-hmm.
So being an expert on that,
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit more about
Mm-hmm.
that and how, we as listeners could be more aware of our nonverbal communication.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, 100%. Yeah, horses are great with nonverbal, right? Because when we do some of these activities, like to hold healthy boundaries sometimes, right? If the horse is getting in their space, teaching them how to say, you're welcome into my space when I invite you, and so we teach somebody something about how to, keep a horse in the healthy boundaries. But it's like, but when all they want to do is pet him, they're like, I just want to snuggle him. I don't want him away from me. They see how their nonverbal communication, how the horse keeps snuggling in. And their hand might be doing the right thing, or their vibe might be doing the right thing, but in their mind, they're like, I just want to pet him. So we're like, all right, right. So they see automatically how that works. And so being able to teach that to say, okay, well, like go ahead and snuggle with them for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then let's practice that so that we're clear because that nonverbal communication absolutely is huge. Like one of the things that we talk about is energy, right? What we talk about owning your impact. and energy. And
Mm.
sometimes our veterans and first responders, sometimes they don't necessarily get what owning your impact means when it's a personal thing. They have what, they call command presence, right? Is that when they're in
Yeah.
a leadership role, they're automatically, shoulders up, head forward, like large in charge and in command. They know, right? They need to make stuff happen. They're used to that. Well, they don't always need to have that command presence at home with their 7-year-old when they're learning to tie their shoes. However, they don't
Right.
realize sometimes their impact, right? And so when they can learn to soften with the horse, then they can learn to soften with their family members or with their, or with their coworkers. Perfect example, we had a guy who was amazing. I mean, he's like an amazing human specimen, 6'2", leader, all the leadership credentials, 25 years in service. And he was struggling with his 16-year-old, right? And he's like, man, I don't understand. Like, I love this kid. We used to wrestle and goof around. And, I don't know why now, like why we're having issues. So, about lunging, right? So you put a horse on a long lead and it's called free lunging. So we weren't in a round pen. We were in a big arena, and this huge horse, she was Clydesdale. We had him do some lunging with her. And she's a big horse. Like we're talking like 2,000 pounds of gargantuan, beautiful horse. And this guy was, he was right there with her. And he comes in, he's lunging her. She starts racing around him. And he's like, what am I doing? Like she's racing around him. And so my co-facilitator, Lee Dudley, she was working with him and coaching him. She's like, okay, now breathe and soften your body, soften your energy. You want this horse to trot around, not be going around, racing, maybe at a lope, but generally at a trot. So let's soften, let's breathe, let's calm. And I kid you not, within like 2 minutes, this horse had slowed down. She had an ear and an eye on him, and she was actually paying attention to him and his communication and his energy in a different way because he softened, because he came in all like, I'm going to do this. And I got this activity and I got this leadership and go horse. I know what I'm supposed to do. It's supposed to go in a circle around me. I got this. Boom, let's go. And the horse was like, whoa. So after, the horse, and then he got her down to a walk, right? Again, he softened. He learned how to work with his body. He kept slowing his breathing. And then the horse slowed down to a walk. And Lee kind of looked at him and he looked at her and she said, do you feel that? And he goes, yeah. He goes, I think that's what happens with my 16-year-old. That goes in with that
Oh.
command presence, right? He doesn't realize that he's all of, 6'2", 6'4" of him with that command presence. And even though he's like, hey kid, what's up? Let's go for a walk. And the kid's like, just his energy, not recognizing that his energy is so intense because he's got that command presence. So how to soften that? Because he was realizing just coming up to that kid's door and being like, hey, buddy, it's dinner. The guy was like, oh, hey, not because he was scared, but because it was just so intense. So he learned how to soften, how to change his tone, how to slow his roll a little bit. And his eyes filled with tears. He's like, I get it. I don't think I could have gotten this in an office. I get it with the horse because he saw that automatic response, that nonverbal communication, right? And how that,
Yeah.
and then the horse licked and chewed and he, turned his body and she lowered her head and they stood there, and then when he invited her in, she came in of her own
Oh,
volition, and so it's something that, for horse people, it's so simple and it's also so impactful, to learn about that nonverbal communication and that healthy space and the invitation, because there is a time when we need to have that command presence. Absolutely. Especially with big horses, right? Because so they're
right.
not in our space. So they're not being disrespectful. And then when we need to soften and invite them in, we can also learn how to be the opposite of that, depending on what's appropriate for the situation. And so for our leaders, for our warriors and defenders, right, who they have really serious jobs and they have to live in that command presence. So often it's really hard to turn that off when they
Yeah.
get home with their spouses and their kids and their husbands and their dogs and, all the things. And so learning how to do that and seeing how it immediately impacts, they get it. It's not just talking about it. Like you said, 7% words. It's not just talking about it because intellectually we all get it, right? Like you need to soften your tone. You need to, your 15-year-old
Right.
son is not your Marine. Like they get it. To see it and to experience it is different. They get it in a different way.
Yeah, the amazing thing about horses, well, all animals, like they have a natural reaction to our energy, our tonality, all of that, right? And they know, just like your dog. I mean, you come home and your dog knows when you're in a bad mood. They sit
Yeah.
there and they'll kind of cower and still wiggle, right? But the horses, I love this story because he walks in there with his presence, his energy, and all of that, and the horse knows this is what you want from me. This is what you're asking for me, is to go. We're going. And yet, how often as humans are we paying attention to that? We're walking into a situation to say go. We're walking into a situation saying, screw you. We're walking
Mhm.
into, our energy behind who we are, our presence, what's going on in our head, what's going on in our heart, what's going on in our gut impacts everyone else in the room. So that's just so this is such
Yeah.
a good story. Such a good story. So let me ask you
Can't
this.
make it up. Yeah.
Yo, you can't make this stuff up.
Don't have to. Yeah.
What would you say? Okay, now, yeah, what would you say is like one of the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to communication, whether it's around horses or just in the world?
Thinking that thinking that people can't feel their energy. Like, perfect example, like you said, when you're in a bad mood and your dog automatically senses it. When we walk in and we're faking it, right? No, 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 I'm fine. Kathy, how you doing today? I'm fine. I'm good. I got it. Thanks. And your whole body's like, she's not fine today. Like I feel it in my chest, I feel it in my guts, whatever, and they're like, right. And when it's with kids, here's the thing about kids is that they take it personally. If I'm like, no, 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 I'm fine, I'm good. And the kids are like, because like if they're your kids, right, or your loved ones that you've known for a long time, they know they can feel it when you're not. And it's really easy to take that personally. And so next thing you know, your loved one, whoever that is, or even, a friend or a colleague who knows you well, is off on this whole story like, oh God, I pissed off Kathy earlier today. I didn't send that email. She's probably mad because I didn't. Oh my gosh, I didn't send that email. So we make up this whole story about why I think Kathy's telling me she's fine when I feel it in my body that she's not. When Kathy is not even like she had a phone call before she walked in. It had nothing to do with me, but I've now made this whole story up that Kathy's pissed at me for something I don't even know about. Right. And so I think that mistake is like, if we're not fine, when someone sincerely, right? People use that all the time, like in passing, right? Hi, how you doing? I'm fine. How are you? Right. But when someone is sincerely asking, the most honest thing that we can do, and we don't have to tell everybody our whole stories, just to say, Kathy, actually, you know what? I had a really rough call right before I hopped on. So if I seem a little cranky or if I seem a little off, I'm just dealing with this phone call that just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So give me 2 minutes and then I'll be totally present with you, because then Kathy can relax in her body knowing that Michelle's being honest. I'm not like, fine, I'm good, I'm fine, whatever. And when we're not, right? Our kids feel it, our loved ones feel it, our animals feel it, our people feel it. So that's about owning our impact, right? Is when we say I'm fine and I'm not. Do you know the acronym for fine?
I think there's multiple, but share,
Yes,
tell
yeah, yeah.
us.
One of them is effed up, insecure, neurotic, and oh wait, I just forgot the E. What's the E? Oh, snaps on the spot. I forgot the E. But yeah, effed up, insecure, neurotic, and the E stands for something else. But fine used to be an F word in my family. Like we would joke around if someone's fine, you're like, oh boy, all right, no, how are you
Yeah.
really doing? Like, I'm not taking fine. No way. Right. And so I think the biggest mistake, and again, sometimes it's not the time for it, right? Sometimes you're walking into a meeting and you look at somebody, they're like, hey, are you okay? I'm like, fine. BS. No, you're not. Just be able to say, hey, rough phone call, but I'm here. I'm going to breathe through it. Let's talk about it afterwards. Great. Right. You don't always have to tell everybody everything right then and there, but um, being able to say what's up, because when you're honest, it helps everybody be more present, to your point about presence earlier. Yeah.
Oh my
Looks
God, you
like I
guys,
hit something.
did
Okay,
you
good.
just hear what she said? Okay, when you've got to be authentic and saying you're fine. And I have a teenager, so I hear that a lot as well, right? How is it? It's fine. Okay,
Fine.
whatever. And I'm
Right.
a woman.
Whatever.
I've said it. I can't, I'm not gonna lie. I've gone there
Sure.
too. But stepping into authentic honesty where you don't have to tell everybody everything.
Mm-mm. Nope.
But yes, I'm feeling a little twisted right now. Just give me a minute and I'll get refocused. And then maybe if it's somebody that you could, we'll talk about it later. Maybe they don't need to know anything, right? Just feeling a little bit twisted right now, upset. And give me a minute to get focused,
hmm
right?
hmm Yeah.
So
Yeah.
giving yourself permission to feel the angst when it happens, right? Because you got to feel the feels, because if you bottle it up and lie, it's going to blow up later, probably when you're home,
Right.
right?
About something really nominal. Right.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
has nothing to do with why you're feeling
Right.
insane in the first place.
Right. 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 Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's so powerful. And just recognizing, and I like your tip here, right? Your strategy to say, okay, yeah, I know I'm walking it. Yeah, I'm feeling a little off right now. Just give me a minute. I need to collect myself and then move forward. And I
Yeah.
love that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. And the other thing that I teach all the time is the power of the pause, especially with our veterans, our first, like they're funny. They're smart ass responses. Like they make me laugh at times when I should not be laughing, but oh my stars, are they funny? Right. And so there's times when that filter isn't there. And sometimes a funny, smart ass remark is not the appropriate response. So we talk about the power of the pause and being able to take a breath and pause for a moment before we respond instead of react. Because when there's a tense
Yeah.
moment, especially in a marriage, right, or between a parent and a kid, right, could they say something smart ass and funny? Absolutely. Would it be funny to them, to somebody else? Yeah. But to that person right then and there, they're like, oh, I just want an authentic response, you know? And so being
Yeah.
able to like take a deep breath, and whether it's to respond the way they want to, or to measure their words, or to say something kind and compassionate rather than smart ass, or rather than just a retort, it, I, we've talked about it can save marriages, that power of the pause, because being able to say, honey, I hear you right now. I want to say something ridiculous and I want you to feel heard. So I'm not going to say something ridiculous. Like even to just say that, it's messy, right? But to say, I
Yeah.
want to be present in this moment with you, and I'm having a really hard time doing it, right?
Well,
Whatever it is, but to have that honesty and to take that breath before responding of like, it's the big joke of, honey, does my ass look big in these jeans? Forgive me. Right. But it's like, instead of making that remark, maybe the jeans aren't the most flattering, right? To be able to say, honey, I love your rear end. Those are not my favorite pants on you. Right. To be able to give a compassionate response,
yes.
right? Rather than just like, oh, wow, and something funny, right? Sometimes something funny, of course, depending on the couple, is exactly what they need, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes that's a really tender moment. And to be able to take that breath and be there for them in that tender moment is what is called for. And when you breathe before reacting, then you have a response rather than a reaction. So
Yeah,
that would
I
be the
love
other
that,
thing.
because
Yeah.
one of the things that most people, if if nothing else, you're in a conflict, one of the best things to do is add humor, right? Humor deflates a situation
Usually.
most of the time.
Right.
Most of the time.
Right, right,
Then
right.
they're inappropriate, right? Because a lot of times what you also have to remember is whenever you use, sarcasm or a joke or something like that, there's still a level of truth in that. And we all know it. Like,
Yeah.
responding to the jeans, well, don't they look big in all of them, right? Kind of like a
Right.
and that's not gonna that will not be a good night. No, that
Mm-mm.
that
So
doesn't
someone's
end
sleeping on the
well.
couch. Yep.
But the power of the pause and to think
Yep.
about, am I speaking, am I reacting as I'm speaking? Is it just an emotional reaction, or is it
Mm-hmm.
thought filled,
Mm-hmm.
right? And thinking, what what am I getting out of this? Like, what's the end?
Yeah.
Start with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Where's this going to go?
Yeah.
And if you can do that in a thought, like in a pause, in a breath,
Mm-hmm.
or like the strategy you said is, honey, just what I want to say, I'm just gonna just let it go right now, because I hear you. I hear
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Because that's at the end of the day, we want to be heard.
Yeah.
We all do, men, women, children, we want to be heard. Right. And so to also ask for what we need, right? It's the whole like, because everyone's always on their devices all the time. We're having a conversation, I'm texting, I'm like, uh huh. Yeah, 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 I hear you. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got it. Yeah. honey, you're not listening to me. Oh, sure I
Yeah.
am. Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, you just said something about dinner and groceries and whatever, right? We can say, hey, you know what? If you've got an important email to send, please go ahead and send it, and then we can have this conversation.
Yeah.
And I don't have to be a jerk face about it, right? I could just say, hey, and or I could take accountability to say, Kathy, hold on 1 second. I just got this urgent email. I got to respond real quick. So is it okay? Give me 2 minutes to answer this. And then I swear I'll be right back. Right. Because then I'm getting what I
Yeah.
need if it's important. Right. And then I'm able to give my friend Kathy the respect that she deserves to be able to make eye contact and listen and not be everyone's like, I can
Yes.
multitask. It's like, well, with certain things, sure. But man, when it comes to that heart to heart communication, it comes back to presence, right? You ask about the horses and being present because when you're thinking about your grocery list, right, the horse is like, well, fine, if you're not here, I'm going to do something else. If you're not leading me, I'm going to do my own thing. And then that's like hooves flying. Yeah.
Yeah, well, usually boots flying. Hooves are fine. That's when you go ass over tea kettle. And I have
Right, right,
done
right.
that more times than can I, but it's true. I
Yeah.
mean, that's one of the biggest lessons I think that I take away from, all my years with horses is that you have to be, for safety reasons, for
Mhm.
so many reasons, to be fully present. So now, how can you apply that to every conversation, to what's going on?
Yeah.
You can, your relationships go deeper, your communication improves. Everything is so much better when you can actually be present and fully present.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
oh God,
Yeah.
I love this
Yeah.
conversation. So I do want
So
to,
fun.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So tell me, I love the stories that we're hearing too. What is one of the funniest things that's happened with a horse
Ooh.
that you can actually share with,
Yeah. Oh gosh. I think when people have never been around horses and horses are just doing horse things and they're like, what is that horse doing? Like, when a horse yawns and like stretches out their neck and they've got like their jaws wide open and their tongues are
the
out.
tongues going
Yeah.
nuts and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And they're like moving their head around and, their neck is up and their head is up. And people just start chuckling. Like, what are they doing? Are they hungry? Are they, and they just start laughing, right? Because horses do funny things and especially when someone's not a horse person, just to see the visual and like, perfect example, when someone's not been around a horse and they see a horse, like a horse can like get their back leg up to their nose if they're a fit horse, right? They can get their back leg, right? They can twist in half sideways,
Yeah.
right? To kind of like scratch their ear with their back leg. And when
Yeah.
someone's not been around a horse to watch their face go, "Oh, they can do that." Like, what in the world? When they see a horse, bend sideways doing these things and, scratching. Um, those are kind of some of the first things that come to mind when people start chuckling about things. Oh, I will say, when this is definitely not a PG-13 story. However, I'll be as tactful as I can. When there's a male horse who is
Oh yeah.
relaxed, all right, we don't tell the genders of our horses when we're in the middle of a session, right? We just kind of leave it to the end and then we, tell. But we're like, often you'll be able to tell throughout the session if a horse is a male or female. And when a horse is relaxed and he's at rest, and it becomes very clear he's a male horse, the men just they start giggling. They just start giggling. It's because they're like, well, and especially if they've been calling the horse a female. There was this one horse, she's this old horse, but she was really statuesque. She was an old competitive horse, and everyone assumed she was male because she was kind of cranky. They called her the general. Like generally people would assume like, oh, that's the colonel, that's the general, that's um, and because she was just big and she was kind of cranky and she kind of hurt. So it was the way she held herself. So everyone would always assume she was a he. And when they find out, right, that she's actually a she, right, you can't tell as clearly as when it's a male horse, right?
Correct.
Um, right. But so when they find out gender sometimes and they see that it's clearly a male, sometimes the way they start giggling and get kind of funny, like, oh, I guess I had that one wrong, right? Because then there's other horses that's a he and they think she's a she or he's a she, and that's always funny. I had to actually do side note, actually had to do a little bit of sex education, unfortunately, one day with one of my 12-year-olds. He had not seen the horse, his male horse relax like that before. And we were talking and the horse was at ease and relaxed. And he looked at me and his eyes got like dinner plates. He goes, Miss Michelle. And I kind of looked at him. He looked at me. I was like, oh Lord, am I going to have to talk about this? He was like, is that is that what I think it is? I said, what do you think it is? Right. So we had to use the penis
Yeah,
word and right. And so his mom comes and picks him up later. And I was like, well, just so you know, we had a little bit of education today. And, but it was great because I had taught sex ed before. I worked with at-risk youth for a long time. And, so it was, but it was, explaining it in that way was pretty funny. I don't know. So those are the funniest things I can think of at the moment. Yeah.
that's so fun. And so for those of you that are listening, just to explain a little bit, so the girl horses, okay, not geldings, mares, right? So their pieces parts are up inside them. Now the boys, they are up inside them until they either relax or have to go to the bathroom. And then they come down
Yeah.
and are very, very present. And there is a
And it
reason
becomes very
why.
clear.
Yes. And so the phrase hung like a horse, there is a reason.
Right, right, right. There's well said. Well said. There you
Yes.
go. Yeah, and pee like a
So
racehorse. When you have to pee like a racehorse,
yes,
that's the other thing. Yeah, yeah.
that in and of itself, the sound of that, holy cow.
Right, right.
But back to the relaxation part, because
Yeah,
I always knew with Bojo when
yeah,
we were in tune and he was relaxed,
yeah.
because after we were done riding I massaged, right? So his back legs, right, around his arms, his chest, his ears, and he got a little massage. And then because that's when I knew, I'm like, okay, he is so relaxed now, life is good, I could say goodbye. It was
That's right. That's one of
so
those clear
awesome.
communications you can't miss.
Nope, nope. I mean, if humans, if we could have a telltale sign of when we are relaxed, wouldn't
Right,
that be awesome? Like
right. If we're licking and chewing, right?
I love it. I love it. That's so funny. Well, and to add to that, the other thing that most people don't know, because when I've had people come see Bojo, that horses roll. Okay, so if you've ever seen a dog kind of
Mm.
go crazy on the ground and rub, and they want to feel that scent, right? There's just something good that they're just getting all. Horses do the same thing. And you just they get down there, and Bojo used to make that sound,
Right.
right?
The moan sound. Yeah.
Yeah. And he would just go to one side and then the other, and it was usually after a bath because he was gray. And
Mm.
because he was clean and then he wasn't. I mean, that's a funny story for that. So okay, let's wrap it up because I could talk to you.
Okay.
We're gonna have you back because we can absolutely
Oh,
talk about
good.
this forever and ever and ever
Yeah.
and ever. Like I said, you're a sister from a different mister. How can so I understand you are on a mission. Talk to me about your mission.
Yes. So, Operation Equine is a nonprofit organization, and we work with the whole military, veteran, emergency responders, and their families, community, also their caregivers and supporters. All the work that we do is on the ground, except for the Warrior Pack Trip. The Warrior Pack Trip is our signature program. That is a dream come true for me in terms of being able to offer that. We take the best of what we do on the groundwork and then we take it out into the wilderness. So, in one location that we do it in, we actually pack up the horses with panniers and we go out to the wall tents up at the flat tops. And in another place, we stay in tents or in a little cabin, and they get to know their horses, and they have that same horse for the whole 6 days. And so we scaffold the riding where they learn how to ride bareback, and then we go out for a half day ride, and then we go out for a long day ride, and then we get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's a super long day ride where you get off your horse and you eat lunch and you go up and you go down and you go in and out, and you get to get out into the wilderness, which is where most of us, right, who work with horses love to be. Like to ride a
Yeah.
horse into a forest, over a stream, near a pond, in a lake when you get to go. Oh my gosh, we got to go swimming on the horses last summer with my female veterans group. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So we were in, shorts and t-shirts, and there was a little cow pond on property, and we got to go swimming on bareback. Like, who gets to do that? It's amazing. It was so fun and exhilarating and all of that. So, and then it's the Warrior Pack Trips also, we teach mindfulness, right? So every morning and every evening is bookended with a mindfulness meditation. And the group really gets to spend the kind of time together where they get to bond. And what I hear a lot from my veterans is just missing that camaraderie, right? Where they don't have to watch their P's and Q's, where they can just be themselves, where they can just laugh and, use an acronym. And most everybody, most everyone knows what they're talking about. The Marines give the Army guys crap, and, the gals give each other crap. And it's interesting because the men all bond almost immediately. And the women, because they've been through something different, it takes them longer to build that trust. But I tell you what, Kathy, by that third day, and they are just in it, then they're like, okay, I can do this. I can trust you. And so then when those women drop in and find other women that they can trust and let their hair down with and be comfortable with and feel safe around, that's the healing in and of itself, right? And then we happen to also do these horse things on top of it. So the Warrior Pack Trip is a really unique program. And right now it's a 6-day, 5-night format. We can also do it shorter, because I know with some of our active first responders, they've asked us if we could do a shorter trip because, they're already, away from their homes so often. And, the spouses are like, hey, what do you mean you're going away for another 6 days? So we can do shorter trips. This year we're working on without going into the whole story, we have 2 pack trips halfway funded, and they're both female trips currently. One of the trips is for female veterans. The other trip is for female spouses, military spouses, because the spouses, man, they need to get away too. They need to be given back to. They need to be served. They need to be given some love also. So my men are like, what the flip? Like, where's the men's trip this year, yo? And I'm like, y'all, you got to start raising some money because, unfortunately, these trips are 20 grand each, give or take, because there's 2 licensed mental health professionals on the trip, right? Because for all the reasons, right? And then there's, we pay the outfitter, we pay for the horses, that's food and lodging. That's the tip for the wranglers. You always got to tip your wranglers. It's bad juju not to,
Yes.
so it's a once in a lifetime experience. The good news, though, is it's not just the best 6 days of their life. The whole idea is to carry it on, right? Yeah. So every month we get on a call afterwards, and we have a call for about 6 months afterwards where it's planned and everyone shows up. And then after that, from last year, all the guys on my men's trip and all the gals on my women's trip, they're still in touch. They're still on these text threads. They still check in on each other, the good, the bad, the ugly, the laughter. Oh my gosh, the things that, especially the guys, oh my stars, the things that they put on this thread, they're horrible. They're so funny. They're things that I save it up sometimes when I need a good laugh. But then the idea is to build on it and to create this community of graduate cohorts where then they can say, people in cohort 1 and people in cohort 7, right? We can all get on a Zoom call and we can share resources and we can share stories. And someone could say, hey, I'm coming through Colorado this summer with my kids on a camping trip. Who wants to join me? And then all of a sudden you've got families from cohort 1 and cohort 3 and cohort 5 all together. And then also being able to continue the equine work. That takes funding to do, that takes capacity to do. Yeah. We are a small nonprofit. Like you're looking at the staff right here. So it takes funding, it takes time, it takes man and woman power. So donations, sponsorships are always welcome. I love to help bring other organizations up. So if somebody wants to be the Smith Mortgage Company, Warrior Pack Trip, I'm all about that, right? We'll make you mugs, we'll make you t-shirts. And every little bit helps. It boils down to about $2,000 a person. And so even if, a couple of people wanted to split sponsorship of a veteran, Smith Mortgage Company and, whatever, so-and-so's ice cream store, they both can throw in $1,000 and sponsor one veteran together. A family can say, hey, we can sponsor half of a veteran. Great. That's wonderful. So every little bit helps for sure to make these trips happen because they're life altering. They are truly life altering.
So I love this work that you are doing is so amazing. And talk about impact, right? You keep talking about impact. You are making a huge impact and you're doing it with horses, which is one of my big loves. So I love this. Where can people find you?
Yep. So operationequine.org is our website. And I'll just be honest. We're not great about Facebook. It's just how do you put this? We can always be better at marketing ourselves on LinkedIn and Facebook. We are trying. The best way to reach me is honestly to text me, or if you send me an email, because sometimes you can only do so much through text, send me an email. And if you don't hear back from me within a reasonable amount of time, shoot me a text. My number's on the bottom of the website. And just shoot me a text and say, hey, Michelle, I sent you an email a few days ago, hadn't heard back, wanted to tap in. Everybody who knows me knows this. They'll shoot me a text and say, "Hey, girl, check your email." Oh, God, sorry. Because it's not that I don't check it. It's just that, it's my inbox is absurd. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to have people text me. I'm happy to hop on a call. I'm kind of old school like that. Like you said, I'm only 29 years old, kind of, a few times over, but I'm kind of old school about getting on the phone. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to hop on a call with somebody and talk a little bit. And we are about to your point earlier about getting in touch. I am going to have an informational call in the not too distant future about the pack trips. So I'll make sure to get that on our website and put that information up when we have our informational call so people can learn a little bit more about it. And some of the graduates will be on that call. And yeah, that's the best way.
Awesome. Be sure to send that info to me because I will
Okay.
blast it out to my listeners and to my stalkers, for those that are following me. I love it. So thank you so much for the work that you're doing. We're going to wrap
Yeah.
it up with a little popcorn style questions. We're just going to have a little bit of
Uh-oh.
fun.
Okay.
Putting you on the spot. Don't overthink this. Okay? Don't overthink it. We're
I'll
women.
do my
We
best.
like to overthink, but let's
Okay.
just, okay. So
Okay.
would you say you like the morning or the night?
Morning.
You're a morning person?
That's easy. Yeah, I'm a morning girl. I
Good.
love the sunrise. I'm a sucker for a good sunrise. Plus, I'm up feeding the horses and outside and shoveling, doing poop scoop therapy. And yeah,
Oh, that was the thing with my daughter loved to scoop. She loved to muck the stall.
yeah.
She would just go to the barn to muck the stall.
Yeah,
So
totally therapeutic. It is one of the best, cheapest therapies ever. Yeah.
love
Good for
it. Yes,
everybody.
yes. It
Yeah.
is, it is. Okay, so sweet or salty?
Oh, sweet chocolate. I am a total chocoholic. I will own that all day long. Dark chocolate, especially.
Oh, dark chocolate. Got it. Okay. So if
Yeah.
you were to have a wonderful dinner, would it be at home or out?
Ooh, that's a tough one because I love a well cooked home meal. A cooked what is it? Home cooked meal. Um, and man, there's some really good restaurants out there. And because I don't get to doll up very often, it is really fun to get dolled up and get taken out. So that's tough. Can I put one foot in each cancer?
Sure.
Okay. Good.
That works. That works. A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
That's right.
Yeah, I love cooking, right? Cooking, baking. I actually
Yeah.
just spent a weekend making chocolates, homemade chocolates. So we're
Ooh.
probably gonna have to hook
Ooh.
up and I deliver
Okay.
some chocolates. But
Okay.
but I also, as somebody who's always cooking,
Hmm.
it's really, really nice to go someplace and be served a meal where
Yeah.
I don't have to cook and clean and all that stuff.
Yeah. And that's the thing is I am a nice Jewish girl. So I like to have my people over and cook for them. Like that's an act of love right there is cooking for your people. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's something to be said for that.
for
Okay,
sure.
so if you were to have something yummy like comfort, would you eat it or would you drink it?
Ooh. Oh, that's another tough one. Well, it comes back to the little bit of the chocoholic thing because there's a time and a place for some chocolate covered, those, oh God, those things from Costco. They're like the bane of my existence. Those dark chocolate covered blueberries or acai berries. Oh,
Oh, yeah, I know what you're
oh,
talking about.
yeah. They're like in that little plastic bag with the Ziploc. Oh, those are dangerous. Man, yeah, I can throw down with some of those. So that would be probably my go-to for the eating thing. For the drinking thing, I love, I'm drinking it right now out of my one of my favorite mugs, green tea with a little bit of honey, which is pretty comforting.
Yeah,
On a cold day, I will go for the tea with like some, raw organic honey. That's a good
yeah,
go-to right there. Yeah.
yeah. See, if I'm going comfort, I'm going for a nice bottle of red wine.
Ooh, there you go.
That's
There you
that's
go.
warm and
Yeah.
fuzzies. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, all right. Would you say you would rather be at the beach or the mountains?
These are hard. You didn't tell me these would be hard. Oh my gosh. I mean, I live in the mountains because I love them, but man, I've got friends who live near the ocean and I gotta get my annual ocean time. Like
Yeah,
I love the ocean and I could live near one and I'm a mountain girl. So maybe I'm
yeah.
a mountain girl who loves to live in the mountains, who loves to visit the ocean. Loves it.
I'm with
Love
you
it.
100%.
Okay. Okay.
With you 100% on that. So,
Yeah. Like putting your tootsies in the sand and getting, the water over your feet. Like that's just,
yeah,
yeah.
with a
Yeah.
glass of wine, piece of chocolate.
That's
That's just,
right. That's right. Cabana boys out there fanning you. Yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they have,
Yeah.
some of them have the little ice towels. Have you ever had that? They take, it's
Oh,
like a washcloth it's like in a cooler with ice. And then they put it around your neck. Oh,
wow. I
oh,
clearly have
yeah.
not been to that resort.
That's where my husband and Prince Charming and I got married at a
Prince
place like
Charming.
that.
Oh, nice.
So that
Nice.
was awesome. Okay, so if you
Nice.
were to read, is it paper or Kindle, electronic?
Paper, 100% paper. I am old school. I got my highlighters. I got my dog-eared pages. I got my, asterisks and my exclamation points. Paper, 100%. Yeah,
Oh, I
that's an
love
easy
that.
one.
I love
Phew, good. God asked an easy one.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were to be entertained, would it be a movie or a series, like a Netflix series or something like that?
Go to a hard one. It depends. I got a foot in each camp because a good movie to just get lost in a good movie,
Yeah.
right, is so good. And there's a beginning and there's an end. You got your, 2 hours and 7 minutes or whatever it is. But man, a good series, since you're a wine drinker, write down Drops of God. It's actually on Apple TV. It's like one of those it's like 8 episodes or 11 episodes or something. It's so good. It's the most unique story I have seen in a series in a
Ooh.
very long time. And there's no violence in it. It's all intrigue. It is all intrigue. And you do learn some things about wine as well. That was
Well,
probably my favorite new series. I came across it. I was like, what is this? I had to watch it. I was hooked. Yeah.
ooh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
And then if you, okay, this one might be hard. Um, this is the one that I consider hard, but some people get it really fast. If you had a walk-on song, so I don't know if you've ever watched Zoolander, right? So
Yes.
each of
Yes.
those characters had a
Yeah. Yeah.
walk-on
Yeah.
song,
Yeah.
right? What would your walk-on song be?
Ooh, that's good. I grew up in a very musical family. And so music is a big part of our lives. Mm, that's so tough on the spot too.
Yes.
Um,
So I'll tell you, mine is Katy
yeah, let's
Perry's Roar.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, that good. That's good. That tips my brain a little bit. One of them would be Sarah Bareilles, the Brave song,
That's one
you
of
know.
my two
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think it would either be the Brave song or there's this other song by a group called Joy and Country or was it King and Country? It's called Joy. It is when I'm blue, I will crank that in
Ooh.
my car. It's called Joy. I'll send it to you. And it's King and Country, which is funny because I guess technically they're a Christian group, but which I didn't even know when I heard the song. Like I said, I'm Jewish, but some of my best friends are Christian, right? The whole thing. But it is the most it's ebullient. It just brings you up and it makes you want to
Mm.
dance and it makes you want to turn it up and it builds and then it gets quiet and then it builds again and it's just, it's the joy song always. Yeah. So I would say either the brave song or the joy song. Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good. Well, thank you so much for your time here today. It
Oh
was an
my gosh. Thank
absolute,
you. Yeah.
absolute pleasure. We are definitely
Yeah.
going to do this again because I think there's just so
Thank
many
you. Mm,
more genius that you could share to our
hmm
audience. I just understand, appreciate the power of equine therapy, right? And I know there's a lot of people out there that they want to be around horses. They could volunteer and help. Are you
hmm
looking for volunteers?
Yeah, so right now I work out of two different barns. There might be a third in the not too distant future. And they definitely need help with the horses. So one is Affinity Ranch down in Parker, wonderful place. It used to be called Praying Hands Ranch. That's how most people know
Oh
it.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 right. Praying Hands Ranch was around forever. It's now called Affinity Ranch, but same place. They do wonderful work down there and they do therapeutic riding. Always need volunteers with the horses to do sidewalkers. They always need help grooming and mucking and taking horses out to the pasture. So they're a wonderful place and they have volunteer orientation once a month. And Allegiance Ranch and Rescue up in Erie, an equally wonderful place that's specifically military veteran first responders. really family oriented place. People go up and volunteer with their kids. They've got great horses. They got a couple of mini donkeys up there. And they also have a monthly
Oh,
volunteer orientation, right? Because again, there's nothing like muck therapy, right? It's dirty, then it's
no.
clean, and it's in service of these amazing animals. So those two places I know, if you go to affinityranch.org and Allegiance Ranch, allegianceranch.org, and it's up in Erie. And yeah, you can sign up for their volunteer orientation. Well, wonderful places where there's good people and there's great horses and they all need extra love because all of us need extra hands to help take care of all four hooves. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's funny as we're having this, I smell horse right now. I it's just
Awesome.
it's so
Yeah.
awesome having this conversation with you. I appreciate you. I appreciate all that you're
Um,
doing.
thank you.
It's just absolutely powerful. And guys, that's a wrap for today's episode of Breaking Bad Communication. Thank you so much for being here and tune in. And before we
Thank
sign off,
you.
don't forget to subscribe. And if you like what you heard today, feel free to share it, repost it. We like stalkers. Share this message. Know this, that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your communication. So as you turn around and head back to the world, remember every conversation is your chance to shape your life and the lives of others. Whether it's a tough talk, casual chat, be clear, be intentional, and listen like it matters. The better you communicate, the more your life aligns with what you truly want. So go on, get out there, own your voice, make your words count. Giddy up.